All right. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Coffee Break. So I apologize for the late start. We had to drop off a vehicle to the repair shop. They opened at 8. So that explains the late start. Here with my good friend Jim.
What's up?
And we're going to talk about some interesting stuff. First of all, I don't know if you've heard this, but RFK Jr. is actually considering dropping out of the presidential race and endorsing Trump.
I saw a headline for that. I didn't do a deep dive into it.
Yeah,
because that pretty much says everything I need to know.
it really does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
What's your thought on that?
Well, my first thought, my knee-jerk reaction to that is why do politicians keep doing that shit? They'll decide to I'm gonna run for president, or I'm gonna run for this, or I'm gonna run for that.
Okay.
And then for any or no reason they just go, you know what? Nah, I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna endorse this guy instead.
Right.
Why are we playing these games?
Right.
Why are we playing these games? Just endorse who you're gonna endorse or run. Just fucking pick a lane.
Right.
This is a testament to the current state of politics. It's just this wishy-washy, non-committal fucking bullshit. It's what did you stop your bid for? Because I understand if you're I ain't got a shot.
Right.
Then,
but they'll never admit that.
Then it becomes pretty much a symbolic thing.
Right.
And maybe that's the case. It's just a symbolic thing. Maybe it's just to get your name out there.
Yeah.
Everybody loves a Cinderella story.
That's true.
But I think a lot of it's just when shit gets hard, they just fucking fold.
Yeah. Well, it really is a sign of the times, though. This is kind of rampant throughout our society.
When shit gets hard, people just fold?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Did you notice so they got the Democratic National Convention going on right now in Chicago.
Good place for it.
Yeah. And did you see first of all, they built a wall around it.
The secure perimeter? I saw the secure perimeter.
Secure perimeter, right.
That lasted 15 minutes?
Something like that. Yeah, it was
broken down before the police watched them tear it down.
Yeah, just stood there and watched them tear it down. Quality work, which
good job, CPD.
You know what though? I get it. I absolutely get it. Why would they? Everything going on inside, they're against the police. They're against these people. So, I'd stand there.
Well, then why even show up?
Right. I know.
Because you're you're going to bust through the secure perimeter, and then what?
Yeah.
What's next?
One interesting post that I saw was, well, first of all, allegedly, right, there are pallets of bricks that were delivered in the early morning.
Oh, we're still doing that?
Apparently that is still going on.
But I don't know if that ever really happened. I didn't really look into it, but I keep hearing that. I've been hearing that for
same
8 years now.
Yeah. Every time there's a big event and there are expected protesters, allegedly.
I've got no reason not to believe that.
Well, yeah. Other than,
I haven't seen it.
Media's full of bullshit.
I haven't seen it, but
right.
It might be that urban myth, kind of the razor blades and the apples and the whatever.
Yeah, the drugs, right? They're handing out edibles.
Well, I could believe that, but back in the day when they're they're handing out LSD and they got candy that's actually ecstasy. It's right. Look, man, if it was that easy to get that shit, right?
Speaking of that easy, right? Do you think that the DARE program or school prepared us? I thought there was a drug dealer on every corner, man. I thought it was going to be way easier to score when I got older.
Well, see, that's where your problem is you didn't get your drugs from the DARE cop.
Right. Did you?
Huh? No, I wasn't doing drugs back then. I didn't do drugs till much later.
Much later, right?
which is what I'm saying. It's like, you know, they keep talking about, you know, like, oh yeah, they're just handing these drugs out to kids. Bullshit. I've tried to get those drugs and it's hard.
Right?
It's
Yeah,
fucking
John
hard.
Says, who the fuck is handing out free drugs? I would totally not. And that was always my thing. Like, who's gonna hand it out like that and pass it out to kids or whomever? If you're gonna give away free drugs, like, at least enjoy the fruits of your labor. You gotta watch the individual, you know, and really,
you got you gotta get a target market. You don't just like, you know, you like Johnny Appleseed just throwing seeds all over the place and hoping a tree shows up somewhere.
Right. It's, dude, man, like, that's like, I thought quicksand was going to be a much, much bigger problem.
Yeah, I've been seeing that going around a lot too on the Gen X post. It's like,
man.
Quicksand is like, it was not as advertised.
Right? Was he saying you had to deal with all sorts of sausage for free drugs? I mean, if that's how you roll, man, you know, to each their own, whatever.
I mean,
whatever it takes.
When some of them drugs, when they get a hold, you know, I'm not saying that this is something I've personally done.
You're right.
But once them drugs get a hold of you, you will do some wacky fucking shit.
Yeah.
You know, that fucking dopamine's a motherfucker.
It is, man. And you know, once that shit has a hold of you, like your entire mind changes. I've known some people that were, you know, addicted. Hell, my mom was a drug addict.
Yeah.
You know,
I won't say I was ever an addict as far as the harder stuff. You know, but you know, I fucking did it until it started making me, I like didn't like the person I was when I was on. It was like I made a lot of bad decisions, you know. I did a lot of dumb stuff. And like, just not even the stuff I did was like the stuff that I considered. You know, the stuff that goes through your head is just like, you know, this doesn't seem like a bad idea. And like, you know, your real brain kicks in. It's like, whoa, wait a minute.
Yeah. It's like, whoa, what are you thinking, man?
Yeah. That's not how people act.
Right. Let's see here. What we got? John's Life says, I'm from a small county, but our sheriff has been doing well on keeping the meth epidemic in our county down. That's good, man. That's hard, dude. LaPorte County has a fairly small population, but it's very large. And the meth problem here, especially in LaPorte, less so in Michigan City, I think.
What, meth?
Yeah.
I really can't speak to the meth problem in Michigan City.
Yeah.
You know, I don't hang around with a lot of meth heads.
Not anymore.
I mean, I only had like, you know, one or two specific fucking meth heads, you know, that, you know, but you know, it's usually, you know, your plug and maybe like somebody to fucking, because those are kind of social drugs.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I've heard a lot of like LaPorte, you know, meth, heroin, I think is still a big thing there.
Yeah, fentanyl has become a really, really big problem as well with any drug, but especially with the heroin and the meth. They're cutting it or with fentanyl or adding fentanyl, and like we've had a number of deaths. Now here in Indiana, specifically LaPorte County, they made it to where you can legally go after the dealer for murder. And they're actually are prosecuting a couple of those cases. In normal circumstances, you know, it's a bit much. But when you're selling things laced with things that kills people.
I mean, if we want to talk about this for a second, like your street level dealers, they don't know what's in it.
Right.
I mean, most of the time. You got some of them guys that, you know, will just fucking cut it with anything.
John says, I used to sleep with an 870 by my bed because they got that bad.
Mm-hmm.
Been there.
Yeah, used to. The only reason I don't have a loaded gun right next to my bed now is because I got kids.
Yeah, I hear you, man. I hear you, but luckily my kids are all adults now.
Yeah. Well, and it's not even so much like the fucking, you know, I'm worried that they're going to get their hands on. I'm worried that like my bleary-eyed ass is going to, you know, my kids are going to try to wake me up for work or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
Intruder!
Invasion! Yeah. I mean, there is that.
You know,
Anyway.
it's important to know yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, because you have, dude, I've had some occasions where I had to wake you up for work. And this guy, man, he wakes up hard. I mean, like, kind of was out of it. And yeah, I could see that'd probably be a bad.
Yeah, my body wakes up way before my brain does.
Yeah.
And it's been an issue a couple times. Not like to that extent. I've never shot anybody in my sleep.
Right.
You know, but fucking knock on wood.
Yeah, knock on wood.
But you know, it's important to know yourself. So I don't keep that stuff where I can grab it before my brain kicks in.
That's a good idea.
You know,
at least enough to wake up.
Yeah, I have to go through enough steps that I can't do it without being cognitive, you know?
Right, in a dreamlike state.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can't just grab something. Matter of fact, there are actually certain laws in certain places that remove responsibility from people when you first wake them up.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, that doesn't, take away the guilt from, gunning down your children, but
right.
Yeah.
But anyway, we were talking about drugs.
Mm-hmm.
Your street level dealers, they don't know what's in that shit most of the time. They're just fucking, So going after them for murder, I mean,
here's
the way when you're selling something like meth, heroin, shit like that, you're selling poison anyway.
Right.
So, like, why did we decide that? I mean, I guess I get it that with the fentanyl, the deaths are higher.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, now we got to do something. Oh, now we got to do something.
We got to do something, right?
It's like, and it's great to say, well, we're going after the dealers for murder.
Mm-hmm.
Well, why didn't you go after the dealers for dealing the fucking drugs in the first place? Yeah. What happened to the fucking war on drugs?
That's a loss, dude.
Fucking that was just a fucking.
Yep.
That was smoke and mirrors anyway.
Let's see here. Cocaine had a problem with it to the point the cartel started dyeing their fentanyl pink.
Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's another thing. Fucking
when the cartel does more than your government. You're not wrong, man. You're not wrong. And it's unfortunate because
and that kind of tells you something too. It became so rampant that the cartels are losing money.
Yeah.
They're like, oh shit, people don't want to buy our drugs because they're worried about dying.
Yep. And the fucking fentanyl is coming from China.
China.
I'll say this, man. I miss the way Trump said China.
I miss the way he said a lot of shit, man.
I know you're not a fan, but
no, I mean, like, he's entertaining.
He is fucking entertaining.
Because, like I've said before, I'll say it again. I'll say it to the day I die. That guy is a fucking clown.
Oh yeah.
He is he is a showman.
Yeah.
Like, he has been a showman forever.
So, back to RFK, just for very briefly.
Oh, right. Yeah, RFK.
So, with RFK potentially dropping out and having a place in the Trump administration, right? If you could put him somewhere in the administration, where would you put RFK Jr.?
I don't. Honestly, I don't know that much about RFK Jr.
Fair enough.
I'm not going to sit here and try to, dazzle everybody with a bunch of bullshit.
With your political knowledge.
Yeah. Things I don't know, and I'll freely admit, I don't know. I don't keep up on politics as much as I probably should. Because, and here's the reason. Here's the reason that I don't keep up on that, because the system itself has just failed. Okay. It's like, why do I want to worry about the nuances of a busted machine?
Right.
We're past fixing it.
In your opinion, voting is pointless. True or false?
In my opinion, I would say that, like, I really don't believe that, like, individually, I voted a couple times. Mm-hmm. It didn't mean anything.
Okay.
And like I said, this is just my personal opinion.
Yeah, that's what it's all about.
I'm not against anybody who still believes in the system and
Right.
wants to keep trying.
Right.
But myself, I don't think it fucking matters.
Okay.
They already know who's going to be in anyway.
I think so. So I have a slightly different, more nuanced opinion of it. I believe that you can do far more, positive or negative, but you can influence more change by voting in the primary than the general election. Because your local / county, those candidates in general, in the primary, especially if you have multiple options, at least one of those is usually a regular person trying to make a difference.
Yeah. The primaries to me seems kind of like you're controlling your fall.
Okay.
You're going to hit the ground.
All right.
It's just how you're going to hit the ground. So you're trying to not land on your head.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. All right. We're going to shift gears to something you do know about to a degree. Let's talk about this new fighting vehicle that the Army's coming out with and why, in particular, it gives you pause. So let's bring everybody up to speed. Have you guys heard of the M10?
The M10 Booker.
Yeah. So it's a pretty short article. It says the U.S. Army's M10 Booker light tank nightmare has just begun. Is being introduced as a highly mobile, cost-effective support vehicle for light infantry units. While not officially designated as a tank by the Army, it shares many characteristics with tanks, including a 105 millimeter cannon and armor protection. Summary and key points you need to know. The U.S. Army's new armored vehicle, the M10 Booker, is being introduced, blah, blah, blah. So repeat these articles, man. The Booker is designed to be easily transportable, fitting 2 units onto a C-17 Globemaster III without disassembly.
And here's without reading the full article.
Yep.
So here's the context there.
Yep.
Okay, you can fit 2 of these things in that, ready to roll.
Yep.
That thing lands, they roll out.
Yep.
Now the M1 Abrams, the main battle tank, you can fit 1 in there, and you got to take it apart.
Yeah, you have to disassemble it to a degree.
Yes.
Don't you have to take the treads off or
something? I think you got to take the turret. I think the turret has to come off or some such. I don't know exactly, but you have to remove pieces of it to fit it in that what is that, C-17?
C-17 Globemaster.
Yeah, the C-17. So you can't just, land the plane, roll this thing out, and it's ready to go.
Right.
They've got to roll this thing out, put it together, which, is a fairly involved process.
Yeah.
Now, the M10, you got 2 of them. That thing lands, they roll out, ready to deploy.
And it is light enough that it could potentially be dropped via airdrop.
Yeah, they did mention that at some point they could make that thing to where you could just parachute it down.
Yep.
Which is frightening.
Yeah.
So now the main gun on that is a 105 millimeter, I believe it's an M35 cannon.
Let me cover this point real quick from the article before we go.
Okay.
Don't need to disassemble it. Key point. However, its smaller size and lighter armor raise concerns about its effectiveness in modern combat, particularly against near-peer adversaries.
Yeah, and we'll get back to that.
Yeah.
Remember that statement.
Remember that statement.
We'll get to that in a minute.
All right, go ahead.
Okay, so the M10 has the 105 millimeter cannon, which was the main gun on the original M1 Abrams. That's not in that article.
Okay.
I did a little research on that.
Okay.
The M1A1 and the M1A2 have upgraded to 120 millimeter cannon.
Right.
So the M1 has a bigger gun. However, the M10, which is, I want to say, almost half the size
Yeah. Yeah. Rough.
of the M1A2,
Mhm.
has a comparable gun to the original M1,
Right.
which was a main battle tank.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you've got
105
this,
millimeter
you know,
cannon.
this quote unquote light tank
Mhm.
with,
Don't
you
call
know,
it a tank, the military says.
yeah, that tank, the military, yeah, okay.
Right.
So that's a pretty serious gun.
It is.
Is it 120 millimeter? No,
Yeah.
but it's still 100. I mean, think about that for a second. 105 millimeters.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a sizable cannon. It
Yeah.
will definitely take down a house, a building,
Uh-huh.
you know, whatever you want it to take out.
All right.
What it
So
won't take out, though, is tanks.
no,
Especially
you
modern.
yeah, you bring it up against
Like a T-72.
T-72 or an Armada or, you know, whatever,
Right.
you know, another heavy armored vehicle.
Right.
It's going to struggle.
Yeah.
You know, is it useless? I don't think so. You know, are you going to one hit an Abrams with it? No, probably not.
Yeah.
However, and this is where we come to that statement,
Right.
where it's, you know, not, you know, gonna compete in modern warfare.
Right. Right.
So this is where my brain kicked in.
Yep.
I went, well, what if it's not made for that? You know, this thing is half the size
Right.
of an M1 Abrams.
Right.
You know, M1 Abrams rolling down the street, kind of hard to maneuver.
True.
You know, something half the size would be much easier to maneuver in city streets.
Okay.
So to me, you know, in my uneducated opinion, it would be very conducive to an urban fighting environment.
Interesting.
You know, you've got the big 105 millimeter gun on it.
Yeah.
You've got, well, they call it the 12.7 millimeter machine gun.
Right.
It's a 50 cal.
Okay.
And then you've got a 7.62, the M240,
Yep.
on it as well for, you know, anti-personnel.
Right.
So you've got plenty of firepower on this thing.
Yeah. Interesting side note that I need to mention: it does not transport troops. It's
No.
not designed for that.
Mm-mm. It only
So-
holds the crew.
Just the crew. There's you can't pile a squad in there, which means it doesn't replace the Bradley.
Yeah, it doesn't replace your armored personnel carriers and
Right.
shit. Yeah,
Or your
but
IFV.
it certainly outguns a Bradley.
It outguns a Bradley by far.
Yeah, it's not made to transport troops around
Right.
or, you know, in my opinion, like an infantry support,
Yeah.
you know, to that degree,
Okay.
like the Bradley.
Mhm.
But
But
it's got a lot of punch and it's got a fairly small size. It's only like 12 tons heavier than the Bradley.
right. Right. It's not a massive gap between that and the Bradley as far as weight and size goes.
Right.
So you could easily have a small squad, whatever, lance, platoon, whatever, of Bradleys and these things supported by infantry.
Right.
And you could effectively control an urban area.
Oh, absolutely.
Or at minimum, do some serious damage to the infrastructure and population.
You know, and they're talking about near peer opponents.
Yeah.
Which to me translates to, let me put on my tinfoil hat here for a second. That translates to military opponents. Against armed civilians. Well, now we're talking a different animal here.
Right, right. Because let's face it, a lot of the fighting that was done in Afghanistan, for example, was really armed civilians, terrorists,
Mhm.
but these are individuals with improvised explosive devices,
Mm-hmm.
AK-47s,
Mm-hmm.
and random material they were able to scrounge up.
Right.
Now, of course, now that, dipshit pulled out of Afghanistan and left them billions of dollars worth of equipment, it's a different story.
Yeah.
But
Now they've got our,
now they have near peer.
now they've got our AT-4s and our
Right.
Dragon missiles and
Mm-hmm.
all of that.
shit.
Uh-huh.
Right.
But yeah, just in my uneducated opinion,
Right.
this seems very conducive to a urban control measure, which we've had the president say, what are you going to do with your AR? We've got jets, we've got this, we've got that, yeah,
tanks,
yeah, and now we've refined that
right
to a very good militia crushing vehicle.
You know what? That's a very, very good point. They like to make a big deal out of the fact that the government has all this firepower, right? So let me ask you this. In a martial law situation, right, even though the U.S. Army is prohibited from operating in the country,
in theory,
exactly, in theory, that's nothing but words on a piece of paper,
right? And we talk about, and that's and they'll tell you all day long that's what the National Guard's for. Which National Guard goes through the same training as the regular Army. The National Guard now gets deployed to combat just like the regular Army.
Indeed.
So the line has become almost non-existent.
Oh yeah. Well, did you see?
Well, and we're just an interesting side note.
Yeah.
And I want to go on a rant for a second.
Okay.
We're talking about fucking Governor Walz.
Yeah.
And his stint in the National Guard.
Right.
When I was in training, I was in training with a bunch of National Guard dudes. This was like the early 90s. Operation Desert Storm was in full effect.
Yep.
And so many recruits were National Guard, and they, with very little prompting, would tell you, oh, well, I'm National Guard. I don't have to go. I'm National Guard. That's why I went National Guard. I don't have to go overseas. And then these guys got their marching orders.
Yep.
And a lot of these guys were like, yeah, you're, going 10th Mountain. You're doing this. You're doing that. You're going. And these guys are like in tears. They're weeping. Weeping. Yeah. Guys who are about to be full-blown fucking soldiers.
Oh, yeah.
Just bawling their eyes out. I don't want to go. I just wanted money for college. This isn't what I signed up for. Yeah. Seriously?
Yeah.
This isn't what you signed up for. What do you think they're training you for? Why do you think they taught you to shoot that gun? Why do you think they showed you how to shoot a fucking AT-4?
Yeah.
What do we... You just thought you were going to get a free ride to college and nothing against that.
No.
That by all means utilize that resource.
Right.
But you thought you were going to get a free ride to college, look handsome in your uniform, and not have to fucking do anything? Yeah. Maybe fill some sandbags once in a while when someplace floods? Yeah. Get the fuck out of here, man. You disgust me. Okay? I ended up, I didn't go to Desert Storm. I missed it.
Right. So close, man.
Yeah, I mean, it was like literally like a clerical error that kept me from going.
Yeah.
But, and I was torn on it. I didn't want to go, to some godforsaken fucking hellhole,
right.
And possibly die for whatever,
Right.
We were liberating Kuwait at that time. At least that was our excuse.
Right.
But if they had told me to go, I'd have gone.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's what I signed. When you sign up, regardless of whether you're a mechanic or a medic or a truck driver or whatever,
or an operator,
carpenter, because there's lots of MOSs out there.
Yeah.
Whatever you signed up for, at the end of the day, regardless of your MOS, you're a soldier.
Mm-hmm. First and foremost.
First and foremost, you are a combatant.
Yes.
I mean, that's just the alpha and the omega.
Yeah.
You know, whatever you do when you're not killing people
Right.
is just a side note.
Yeah, side note.
That's just filling the time until they need you to go shoot somebody, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, I would say you had a much more direct, or at least all-encompassing understanding of what you were signing up for. Like, you knew, like you say now, you sign up for the National Guard.
Well, I mean, back then, they didn't send the National Guard.
Right. But
everybody was signing up for the National Guard.
Instead of the Army, because they thought they weren't going.
Right. And they didn't have enough people. So you got to fill the ranks somehow.
Right.
And why would you draft a bunch of civilians when you got this, trained force right here doing nothing?
Right. Just sitting there.
And
so I want to talk about something real quick. So a lot of people have this idea in their head that Army soldiers, right, National Guard, or regular Army, aren't going to fire on civilians, on American citizens.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, I think they're wrong. A large percentage are just going to do what they're told, but it's not going to be go shoot these civilians. It's going to be we have to get these domestic terrorists.
Oh yeah, they're going to find a way to. They're going to find a way to spin it.
Right, they'll find a way to spin it to where they are the enemy.
Well,
that's the big thing now, domestic terrorists.
Yeah, and the thing of it is if you look at the bigger picture, they're going to get. Your protesters, your, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah.
The powers that be are going to get those people so spun up. Mm-hmm. And they're going to tell the military, well, don't do anything until you're engaged.
Right.
Don't fire first.
Right.
Just make sure you fire last.
Uh-huh.
And then they get the other side so spun up that, they start throwing rocks or, start taking pot shots or whatever.
Yeah.
And then it's open season. And now you're just, suppressing a threat.
Right. And often, as we've seen, in many cases, our intelligence agencies will embed agitators.
Yeah. Provocateurs.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So that it does escalate because they want it to.
Oh, yeah. That's military 101.
Right.
We've been doing that since forever.
Yeah. Yeah. So don't be surprised if at some point, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but don't be surprised.
But it's going to happen.
See these little, these M10s rolling.
Uh-huh. And like I was telling you before we started the show, I saw somebody had posted a video. I wish I had it handy, but it was like the middle of nowhere, North Dakota. Mm-hmm. And the guy's filming a train going by.
Right.
The middle of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
And this train has nothing but tanks upon tanks upon tanks upon tanks upon tanks. And I want to say I didn't, really scrutinize it first till I saw the article for the M10. I'm like, that looks pretty similar to the tanks that were on these trains. And maybe it's just something as simple as, it was transporting them to their, depot or whatever through North Dakota.
Right.
Who knows?
Because let's face it, because we've seen, videos before where, oh, look, it's, a bunch of Humvees or a bunch of whatever on this train. And oh, my goodness.
Yeah. Yeah, but there's no context.
But there's no context. This stuff has to be transported.
Yeah,
somehow,
so for the sake
else.
of clarity, there was no context.
Right.
But it bears taking a look at.
Yeah, it gets you thinking.
Yeah, it's like, okay, maybe I want to find out where these things are going. You know, and like I said, even before the internet was a thing, you know, rumors were rife.
Oh, sure.
People love to talk. People love to, you know, like there have been, I used to sit at diners and coffee houses listening to the tinfoil hats,
Yeah.
you know, talk about, you know, fucking tens of thousands of NATO troops, you know, parked in, you know, on our land, you know, for training exercises or whatever, and warehouses full of euros because they were going to replace the dollar.
Right.
You know, this is back in like the like I said, this is back in like the 90s.
Right.
And you know, none of that happened for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm.
If it was true, you know, people got too close to fucking finding out about it, so they scrapped it.
Yeah.
You know, I can go on and on about all the shit I heard and all the shit I thought and
Right.
this and that and the other.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but we're closer now to dystopia than I feel like we've ever been.
I would agree with you there.
Yeah, we're standing on the precipice.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And like you have to be completely blind to not see it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, one thing that is interesting, right? So they're making, obviously, as we all know, there's a serious problem with the border of this country. It's porous. People are flooding in. Millions upon millions of unvetted people have crossed our border.
Yeah, from all over
the world. Now, regardless of your political leanings, that's a problem.
Right.
Now, a lot of people think, well, they're bringing them in so they can turn them into voters. And they've outwardly talked about that.
Mm-hmm.
However, one of the interesting things that the wife mentioned the other day is, you know, they're talking a lot about mpox lately. Monkeypox, mpox, right?
Mm-hmm.
The WHO declared it as next pandemic.
Yeah, because we always need a pandemic around election time.
Absolutely. So you've got all these unvetted, potentially, you know, soon to be homeless if they aren't already, because all these hotels are, okay, that's enough. That's enough. They're destroying these hotels.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the sanctuary cities are starting to go,
yeah.
Oh, you know what? Immigration's a problem.
Yeah. Even the sanctuary cities now are like, oh, there's too many. But that's what you wanted, dipshit. Anyway, I digress. So if, for example, this mpox, or call it whatever you like, suddenly spreads like wildfire through the unhoused population, then suddenly all these homeless potentially have these sores on their face. Most people aren't going to want to interact with that. Therefore, when they say you should stay inside, she thinks people are going to be a lot more agreeable to it than they would have been previously.
Oh, yeah, totally. And even if, like, once again, let's put the tinfoil hat on.
Sure.
Even if the mpox isn't coming from the unvetted across the border,
Yep.
it's a real convenient excuse for why it's here.
Yes, exactly.
You know, you get some, you know, some of this shit is real easy to spread when you're deliberate about it.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, this is stuff that, like, back in the day used to be the thing of, like, books and movies where, like, you've got the super secret villain organization that wants to, you know, hold the world hostage, you know, by some weather changing machine or horrible virus or, you know, the threat of a nuclear bomb or what have you. You know, this was the thing of, like, fiction. You know, this was like the, you know, the something that the hero had to stop.
Yeah. Michael Crichton, Tom Clancy. I mean,
you know, fucking Ian Fleming.
Yeah.
You know, this is something straight out of 007.
Yeah.
You know, this is something, you know, Spectre does.
Right.
You know, this is something that, like, you know, Cobra would do in G.I. Joe. You know, and this is stopped.
Knowing is half the battle. G.I. Joe.
You're an idiot.
I know.
You know, and this has gone from, like, you know, spy fantasy, from, like, Cold War era paranoia.
Sure.
To, yeah, this is probably going to happen. And it's probably going to happen by the people who are supposed to fucking be looking out for our best interests.
Yeah. Well, we can't forget the fact that all of these agencies that are supposed to be protecting us, right?
Mm-hmm.
The EPA, the FDA, they've all failed.
I mean, just today, I saw an old video of an interview with Fauci about the flu vaccine.
Yeah.
Asking about, well, if somebody had the flu, should they get the flu vaccine? And he said, well, they've already got the flu.
Uh-huh.
So, like, there's no better protection from getting the flu than already having it.
Right.
Like, the best way to protect yourself about it is to already be infected by it.
Right. And then your body builds up natural immunity.
And, so he flat out said, the flu vaccine is unnecessary if you've already had it.
Yeah.
And then here comes COVID.
Right. And suddenly everything changes.
Yeah. And suddenly everything changes.
Right.
And all of a sudden it's, well, you have to get this vaccine or you're going to kill people.
They even went so far as to change the definition of vaccine in the CDC.
Well, they had to.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that's the world we live in.
They had to, because the so-called vaccine for COVID wasn't a vaccine at all.
Right.
It was experimental gene therapy.
Yes. Yeah. Unfortunately, the powers that be, mighty almighty Google, still won't let you talk about it. Still, as a matter of fact, this video will probably be
shadow banned.
Yeah. If not outright kicked off, man. I mean, unfortunately, that's the world we live in. That's why I have multiple platforms. That's why I talk on multiple places. But that's
something, says something right there. It's like if they're trying so hard to silence you for just stating facts.
Yes. Yeah.
That kind of leads you to the fact that they are indeed facts.
Right. Well, let's look back at the advent, right, of COVID, and people talked about the lab leak theory.
Mm-hmm.
You couldn't even discuss the possibility,
right,
that was a thing.
Mm-hmm.
You would get kicked off the platform. You
right.
Get, a strike or whatever. Now, in front of Congress, they're admitting, well, yeah, I mean, it's possible. We don't have evidence either way, but they're definitely leaning to likely.
Mm-hmm.
And finally, we're at a point where we can say, yeah, there's, strong evidence. But how long did it take to get there?
Well, that's the thing. That's the thing. It's like that line from the movie Seven.
Right.
If you want to tell somebody something, it's not enough to whisper in their ear. Sometimes you have to hit them with a crowbar.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and unfortunately, that's where we're at.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so assuming for a moment that these vehicles, tying it back together, right?
Yeah, the M10 Booker.
The M10 Booker are designed for, let's call it, urban suppression, right? And let's assume that the Mpox or monkeypox is the next big pandemic.
Right.
Right? I think they're going to be a lot more heavy-handed about the demands next time. What do you think?
That is definitely a possibility. I don't believe that that's why the M10 was put into existence.
Not solely, at least.
I really believe, once again, tinfoil hat time.
Mm-hmm.
I really think that it's a lot simpler than that.
Okay.
And we're at a boiling point.
Mm-hmm.
Regardless of how this election ends up. Regardless.
Yep.
So let's forget which way you fucking lean.
Right.
Who you want in, who you don't want in, whatever. Yep. Regardless of how this shakes out.
Yeah.
People are going to lose their fucking minds.
Oh, yeah.
There's going to be violence.
Yes.
Either way, there's going to be violence. Both sides have proved it.
Mm-hmm.
Both sides have proved it.
I agree. As a matter of fact, if you look in 2020, for example, there were agitators, rioters, whatever, ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
Ready to go, regardless.
Yeah.
And
it's only gotten worse.
It's only gotten worse. I agree.
And the polarization has grown exponentially.
Yeah.
And that's the thing I can't drive home enough is the division and the polarization. It's what they want.
Mm-hmm.
It's what's keeping us down.
Oh, for sure.
This is like all the stuff that's like opening the door to, you know, the higher prices of everything,
Mm-hmm.
the higher taxes, you know, all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're giving them a blank check to do whatever they want because you guys aren't civilized enough to take care of yourselves.
Right. That's
So
the thing.
we're going to have to like put you over our knee,
Mm-hmm.
fucking ground you to your room,
Mm-hmm.
and, you know,
Remember, Resident Ice Cream got on national TV and said, we're losing our patience with those who, you know, chose natural immunity over the alternative.
right.
You know, we're losing our patience. Go fuck yourself.
Yeah. That,
Thank you very much.
you know what? I really, at this point, I don't think anybody can say with a straight face and a clear conscience that that guy was worth 2 fucking squirts of piss in a rusty ass bucket.
There are those who still swear that, you know, Resident Ice Cream was the greatest president. And, you know, on and on. You remember Gresham, right? Mike Gresham.
Yeah.
We grew up with Mike, a kid. He's a grown up now, like we are, an old man. On his Facebook the other day, he was extolling the virtues of Resident Ice Cream, talking about how, you know, the high ass prices aren't his fault. It's because global inflation.
Well, and he's partially right.
Right.
One man can't control that.
That's correct. That's correct. However, he certainly didn't help the fucking situation.
Exactly. He didn't do any. He is like, what do they call that? Accessory after the fact.
Yeah.
You know, if you see something happening and you don't try to stop it,
Mm-hmm.
you are a part of it.
You're a part of it. Right.
You know.
So, anyway, he used to be pretty conservative. I mean, it's just how he was. And he married this school teacher. And yeah. Now he's as Democrat as they come.
I mean, I don't want to like talk bad
No.
about, you know, because like I haven't known him since like,
Mhm.
you know, we were like what, 16?
Yeah, I was gonna say the last time you had anything to do with the guy.
Yeah.
Me too, actually. I've spoken to him
Yeah.
on like social media, but I haven't actually hung out with him.
I
since
haven't
we were,
even
like,
I haven't
16.
even spoken to him since high school.
Yeah, 16,
I know the
17
boy
years
could
old.
dance back in the day.
He could dance, couldn't he?
Oh man.
Oh my god, dude.
That was one thing I will say. Yeah, me and him never really got along
Right.
great.
Yeah.
Like we had our moments,
Mhm.
and we didn't see eye to eye on a lot of shit.
True.
But you know, I'll give credit where credit's due. That dude could fucking cut a rug.
Yeah, for a little white boy, man. He could, he could dance his ass off.
I'm like, you know, at least from my, you know, uneducated
Right,
view.
From our, you know, white boy perspective.
Yeah. Like, man, I can't do moves like
Right?
that.
Right? He could move, man. He
Yeah,
could
and-
move.
And for all I know, he was just sitting there riding like an epileptic, just like the rest of us. He had me fooled.
Well,
You know.
he had a degree of rhythm to him, and he could definitely, you know, go along with the beat. So,
Oh yeah. I mean, you get him on the dance floor. There was a level of confidence there.
Yeah. That was it was gone in every other aspect of his life.
Yeah.
There, you know,
Mhm.
he wasn't confident in anything else. But you get him on the dance floor. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Spotlight on him.
Oh
and
yeah.
he's
That's like, you know, it reminds me of like Mick Jagger.
okay.
Like you look at Mick Jagger objectively,
Mhm.
that dude cannot dance to save his
No.
life.
No,
But he exudes that big dick energy.
he does that big confidence. Yeah.
Yeah, just
Oh,
like
yeah.
like he owns it. It's
Mhm.
like somebody who looks like that and moves like that and has that level of confidence.
Yeah.
You know, there's something up with him.
Yep.
You know,
And,
he's one to watch.
Right.
And I think Gresham had that same kind of
Yeah.
That same kind of Mick Jagger energy on the dance floor.
I can see that.
I mean, it completely disappeared when the music stopped, but
you know, we all need our thing, I guess. You know, I was actually kind of surprised that. I mean, he didn't do more with it that I know of. Maybe he did, but
I mean, I don't think he's gonna like join the Jabberwockies or anything. But you know,
Soul Steppers.
Soul Steppers.
Hey man, you know. But anyway, there are things that I would like to get done today, so we're gonna wrap this up pretty quick. We got a late start because we had to drop the vehicle off. But is there anything you want to tell the audience? First of all, I really appreciate you guys hanging out with us. It's good to see you. And
to our 5 viewers or whatever.
Yeah, 20, 30, 50, 100.
I don't know.
2. Who cares?
I don't know how many we got, but you know, I'll take everyone we get. You know.
Hey man, I appreciate it. There's some shit going on, and all we can do is talk about it from our perspective.
Yeah, that's right. And you know me. I'll call them like I see them, and I'll, you know, like I said, I'll give credit where credit's due, and I'll call out the bullshit where I see it.
Right.
You know, I don't know everything about everything, and I'm fully willing to admit when I'm wrong.
Yeah.
You know, when there's compelling evidence to the contrary.
Well, that's really the key, because so many people talk from this position of knowing, right? They know whatever. And then when you present evidence to the contrary, oh, that's fake or whatever.
Right.
No one's willing to admit they're wrong anymore.
Right. Well, and it's really hard to know what's real anymore.
Right.
It's like
AI has gotten insane, dude.
Well, even before AI, you know, like the age of information has really kind of like been to the detriment of us, because it's just so easy to just throw shit out into the ether.
Yeah. Well, there's a lawsuit going on right now with Google, and you know, like an antitrust type of thing, because they made deals with all the phone makers so that they would be the default app that was installed as far as searching anything. Right. And then all you need is a little tweaking of the algorithm, and you control the flow of information.
Well, I don't know from antitrust, because nobody's making you use them. Yeah, it could be the default one but there's other ones you can get.
That is true.
So is it really antitrust? You know, because something's got to be the default.
Well, apparently it's like it goes to competition, and I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know, but there's a lawsuit right now. If you're interested in it, I would look it up, because it'll give you a hell of a lot more information than we could.
Right.
But the short version is, if you are the predominant search engine, if you are the number one search engine, you control the majority of the market, you can tell people whatever the fuck you want, and there it is.
Yeah, but I mean...
And we've seen examples of that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, number one, where does it end? You know, as far as that goes.
True.
You know, that is a slippery slope there in and of itself.
Absolutely.
You know, and number two, you know, to fucking sit here and think for a second that there aren't one or two entities that control all of the flow of information is ludicrous.
Yeah.
I mean, like,
naive.
you got to know by now that, you know, you've only got two directions that the information flows.
Yeah.
You know, there is no middle.
Okay.
You know, they can pretend all day long. You know, like, I have to mention this.
Okay.
A CNN article.
Okay.
They covered the DNC.
Okay.
They fact checked the DNC.
Oh, God. Okay.
And when you read it, it's like, okay, this is pretty, you know, they were, you know, this is what this person said. This is why it was inaccurate, you know, yada, yada, yada.
Okay.
And it was an informative article. I also think it was smoke and mirrors.
Okay.
Because everybody talks about, CNN sucking the dick of fucking the DNC and
Right.
yada, yada, yada. And then they come out with this,
fact checking.
Yeah, this fact checking of the DNC.
Right.
You know, it's like, oh, look at how impartial we are.
Right. Did you see the clip with Bill Maher where or not Bill Maher? It was on one of those dipshit late night fucking hosts that nobody watches anymore.
Mm-hmm.
He had somebody on from CNN, and they were talking about something, and I think it was Colbert or whatever his fucking name is.
Okay.
He's like, we know that CNN is fair and impartial, and the audience busted out laughing,
Mm-hmm.
right? And the host or the guest looks at him and goes, "Was that a joke line or something like that?" And he's like, "It wasn't supposed to be." Well, even the fucking liberals know CNN.
Here's the thing. Shit. Here's the thing about Colbert. Okay, if it was Colbert,
yeah,
Colbert. Once again, Colbert's a clown.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
You could sit here if you take Colbert seriously,
right.
as far as news goes,
yeah,
or politics goes. You know what? You deserve what you get.
True. Yeah, I mean, he had the dancing fucking.
He got his fucking start on The Daily Show, which was a comedy show.
Right.
That featured the news because the news was frankly funny.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean,
Jon Stewart, fucking comedian,
mm-hmm.
Daily Show.
Right.
Stephen Colbert, comedian, Daily Show. Do not take these fucking people seriously.
Right.
They make their money making jokes.
Right. Well,
okay, and the news is funny.
Yeah.
And Jon Stewart and Stephen Colbert used to be funny. Sometimes,
arguably,
sometimes they still are.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, you'll still see that glimpse.
Yeah, yeah.
But the problem is they're trying to do serious fucking commentaries on shit, and I'm sorry, I'm not. That's like Bozo the Clown doing a fucking political commentary. I can't fucking take you seriously.
Right.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It just doesn't fucking happen.
Yeah.
The late night shows are dead. Okay, late night shows are fucking dead. Look at the hosts they're getting now.
Oh yeah.
Okay, the days of the fucking David Lettermans and the Johnny Carsons, shit, I'd take Jay Leno at this point. Those days are fucking gone. Phil Donahue.
Yeah.
I mean, the daytime talk shows, and that daytime talk shows is a whole different animal. But Phil Donahue at least had some fucking integrity.
Yeah.
He died.
Right.
He just passed away at 88.
Yeah.
I was not a fan of Phil Donahue,
right.
but
But
nonetheless, compared to what we have now,
right.
The fucking View. Fuck those fucking bitches. Oh, Jesus fucking Christ. And so here we go again. Mm-hmm. Here we go again. Segues right in. Right. Whoopi fucking Goldberg. Okay, if you take Whoopi Goldberg fucking seriously, you're an idiot.
Yeah.
You're an absolute fucking idiot. Yeah, I fucking said it.
Right.
Okay, because she fucking comedy.
Mm-hmm. Just
fucking comedy. That's like seeing Jamie Foxx in an action role.
Right.
It just doesn't fucking hunt. Okay? Right. I'm sorry.
I'm with you.
No offense, Jamie Foxx. You do have some pretty good roles, but come on, man.
know your role. Know your what is it? Your
no, I mean, right? I can understand you trying to break out, but when shit doesn't work, don't force it.
Yeah, don't force it. That's good advice for life.
Yeah,
just don't force it.
And like I said, this is just my uneducated opinion.
Sure, that's what it's all about, man. That's why we're here. So, all right, guys, we'll see you on the next one. We're not sure yet what we're going to talk about, but hang out with us. It's bound to be.
And even if we decide, we're probably going to go off the rails at some point.
Probably. That's kind of what we do.
Yep.
So without further ado, God bless you. God bless Indiana. God bless the United States of America.
Amen.
At least as long as it lasts. See you on the next one. Take care.